Hello, Aletha here with Create Your Future, and thank you for joining me on this video. I want to remind you that Create Your Future is still giving away a free course, How to Find Your Blocks to Manifest Anything Fast, and to also remind you that I do have courses available, and they're all $50 straight across the board. And that all my coaching is currently on sale. So check it all out, and let's get into our topic today. I have two questions from subscribers that I would like to address. The first question is about someone wanting to have a child once they believe they have moved past the biological time frame for having babies, so that they're thinking they're not able to have a child. So the question goes like this. This person is asking for their cousin, who is 51 years old, if they can have a child. They recently got married, this couple, and now they want to have a child, but the woman is 51 years old and believing and thinking that she is past that biological time period or child rearing time period for a woman to conceive and then give birth to a healthy baby. Now, I have a story about my own personal life. The difference is, and it is a big difference, is that I was in the childbearing years. I was in my early 20s, and my husband and I wanted a child. We had been already married 4 years, and nothing had happened. We didn't have a child. And I had gone to medical doctors and was basically told, and he was too, neither of us really were in a good position to conceive, to have children. And specifically me, I was told I probably would never have a baby of my own. And so I was heartbroken because all of my young years, I would imagine being a mom. I wanted to be a mother and have a family and, and raise children. And I just wanted that whole world along with other things. But that was very important to me, to be a mother, a biological mother. And I wanted to know what it was like to carry a child inside of you, your child. And so anyway, I remember feeling sad, really sad, and hurt. But then one day I was sitting, looking out a picture window of my then living room, and it was pouring rain, so much so that the rain was literally hitting the pavement in front of my house and bouncing up like 4 inches. It was really pouring. And all of a sudden, I just got this overwhelming sense that anything is possible. And this was before I really knew anything about the law of assumption. But I had this overwhelming feeling that my desire existed already, meaning I already was a mom in another dimension, and that I could bring that into my life, be it my higher self speaking to me that sees everything, knows everything. Back then I saw it as God, the Holy Spirit, because that was my indoctrination at the time. And you can give it any name you want, but I suddenly knew I was going to have a child of my own. And from that moment on, with tears streaming down my cheeks, I knew that I was going to give birth to my own child. And so why did I tell you that? And I did. And not only did I give birth to one beautiful daughter, but I also gave birth to a beautiful son. So I had my daughter, and then almost 4 years later, I had a little boy, and they're all grown now and have their own little babies, which are all grown. So the point is, against odds, it was I remember the doctor looking at me and telling me that I would probably never have babies of my own. So the point is, I moved into a state of consciousness, into a mindset that said, no, I'm going to have a child of my own. And then from that day forward, I lived in a state of consciousness that I was going to have a child. And I would just feel those feelings of I imagined being a mother. I imagined holding that tiny little baby. And and the thing that I didn't realize, because I didn't know the law of assumption at the time, was that all those years in my later teens, when I somewhere along the line decided I wanted to be a mother, and I wasn't even, I wasn't in a serious dating situation. I was 16, 17 years old, riding home from school on a school bus, imagining being a mom of my own children. So it had to harden and come into fact, as Neville Goddard put it. It had to manifest. And so when I got to the stumbling block that said, physically, you're not capable of conceiving a child through the medical world, those visions overrode that, right? Because it did exist. I had already been imagining it. I had the desire. My desire hardened into fact because I followed through with it. So once I was told I couldn't, I decided, no, I will have my own baby. I lived in that state of consciousness that I will have a child. And I did, and I had two. So what you can do in the situation where you are in your 50s and you want a child is to live from the state of consciousness that you have the child, that you see yourself holding your birth child, loving it and raising it and enjoying that process, being a mother, being the father, but for the woman, being the mother, and feeling those feelings. I overcame what the doctor said, because what I did is I overshadowed that with my fun ideas of what family life in my mind was with a baby and loving that child. And so everything is accomplished through our imagination and the way we think, what we assume. And Neville Goddard says, are we bold enough to assume that the desire in our heart is possible to manifest? Or are we bold enough to assume we already have the thing our heart desires, no matter what the outside world is telling us or showing us? And he says, the undisciplined mind finds it difficult to be bold and assume that whatever it is your heart's desiring is yours now, before the event shows up in the 3D reality. Because the thing is, and this is so key, is that it can't show up in the 3D reality until you first assume and live from the feeling internally of, this is already mine, I have it now. It can't show up externally until it's already an internal assumption that you truly believe it's yours now. So my recommendation then would be, and I don't see the future, okay? We can predict our future. Predict your future with your imagination. See yourself in a situation where you are expecting your own child, delivering that beautiful baby. It's healthy and whole, and you're raising it, and you as a family have a beautiful life together, and for many, many years, right? They stay with us for all these years. It's and a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, against the odds of what the medical world is telling you and what we've been conditioned to believe, your body will comply to your thoughts. My body complied. I'm not going to explain the medical condition, but I wasn't supposed to have a baby. I had two, because I chose to believe my body had the ability to conform to my heart's desire. And how did I do that? Simply imagining being a mom of my own child. And I made up all kinds of imaginal scenarios of me and my baby. and you live from that. And I even did it. And if you've had visions of having your own child prior to wanting it now, those, I believe, in my case, really played a major role in me coming to that place when I was sitting at the window looking out and suddenly knowing that it was mine. Because why? I had been imagining since I was, 16 or 17 years old, being a mother and having my own children. That had to harden into fact. Did I know all this stuff that I know now? No. But I did have a strong belief in God, and I had a strong belief in prayers being answered. And this is a prayer. And you have, what did Jesus say? He said that, if you ask for something, you have to believe that it's already yours and it will be yours. You ask and with the faith that you already have it, and it will become yours. It'll manifest. The prayer will be answered. And I wish I could remember the exact words of that verse, but you know what it is. Jesus said, if you ask with the faith that it's already yours now, it will be given unto you. And so that's what I did. And from that moment on, I lived with a joy in my heart, and I continued to imagine being a mama. I didn't let the doctor hold anything back. I didn't let and we do that with everything. We can do that with our specific persons. We do that with our health, with money, with anything that your heart's desiring. And it is the same process for everything. And our bodies must comply. The universe will comply. Whatever you think and feel and believe and imagine internally must be mirrored back to you. So if you're walking around believing, I cannot have children because I'm a certain age, then that's exactly what you will get mirrored back to you. If you walk around believing that age doesn't matter at this point, you're not that old, and that you can have a strong, healthy baby and conceive that child, then things will be mirrored back to you accordingly. And all I can say is it is up to you to decide what you want, and then to be bold enough to assume you already have it now before it actually shows up in the 3D reality. The other question from a viewer or subscriber was to explain how to revise reality. And I had a situation in my life that I've shared with many clients, so I'm sure for some of you that are, if you're watching, will remember this. But nonetheless, and for me, I revise a lot, but this was very dramatic for me. Someone in my life who's very important to me stood in my house and in a doorway between the two rooms and told me that that would be the last time I'd ever see him. As far as in our relationship, it was over, and they weren't coming back. And very nice, it was a very peaceful, calm, mature conversation, and my responses were okay, because I know how powerful we are, right? So I said okay, and I know that I'm in control of everything, and I also know that everyone is being pushed out, and that I had in some way pushed that out, and it was being reflected back. Just like with the baby, I pushed out a baby, but why? Because in my mind, I was living from having that child, so it had to be pushed out and then reflected back. And so with this revision thing, the person left, and I remember I was walking through my house a couple minutes or so later, and every time I would go through that doorway, I just got that sad feeling. Of course, I felt the emotion of it, even though I only said okay and let them go, understanding that everything is being pushed out and that somehow I had manifested that unconsciously. And so I felt bad walking through that. I always had that sad feeling. So I decided, well, I don't want to live like that in my own house. When I walk through a doorway, I do not want to feel sadness. And so I decided I'm going to revise this. And I lay down on my couch. I closed my eyes, and I did exactly what Neville Goddard says to do, is to go get yourself into a state. And he recommends just keep saying, I feel so sleepy, I feel so sleepy. And then you can move into a state of what he calls akin to sleep or drowsiness. For me, all I have to do is count 1, 2, 3, and I can even feel it now. I in my mind, I will count, and I can feel myself moving into alpha state, And that is where that's that drowsy state before we fall into theta. And so I did that, and because I'm used to doing that, and I've been doing it for a long time. And so almost immediately I can immediately go into that drowsy state. And then I knew what I wanted. I wanted to revise that conversation to be the opposite of what was said. And I did. It was like maybe 5 minutes, not very long, till I suddenly felt, looping over a new conversation of what I would have preferred that person to say. And it must have been like 5 minutes or so. It's all it took. And I knew it was completed. And so I got up and I went about my day. But here's the crucial point for both topics today. When you get up from that, knowing that it's yours, that you have revised it, because even with the baby thing, I just revised what the doctor said so that I was able to conceive. I revised what this person said so that I was able to receive what my heart really wanted and desired with that person. And so when I got up then, in both cases, and went about my daily life and the routine of life, every time I thought of being childless, I would remember that I wasn't. I had this beautiful child inside of me, right? I had this beautiful, not inside of me literally, but I mean, I was in that imaginal scene where I had already had a baby. So I had this beautiful motherhood vision, and I felt those feelings, and I would stay with that as opposed to crying and feeling sad about what the doctor said. So then, same way with this thing with the person, I got up and I remember for the first time after I got up, walking through that doorway, and I felt so much joy and peace knowing that they had to conform to me. Every time I would think about them or walk through that doorway, I would get this feeling of joy. And every time I would think about them, I did not rehearse what they said that was negative. I rehearsed what I said in my revisional, imaginal scene, because that was the truth. Because I'm in control of my reality. And if I change it internally, it has to change externally. And so I did that. And so for 2 days, it's all it took. He was back in 2 days at my house, as though it never happened. I didn't bring up like, well, the other day you said, and here you are. And just like it was nothing had ever happened. Here he is. Nothing ever happened. I didn't question it. I didn't, go into like, well, so what's the framework of our relationship? I didn't do any of that junk because I knew what the framework is. It's me. Everything I choose it to be is what it's going to be. And so I just accepted his presence and enjoyed it. And we had fun, and he's still my friend. We're still together. So the point is, you revise your life internally through your imagination. And when you get up from that, once you've looped it over, it feels very natural. You get up from that and you live from it. It's a done deal. So that's all I did. I've done this so many times. Some stuff happened with my family, with a grandchild, and I wanted something opposite of what they wanted, and because I really felt it was good for all of us. And I just revised it. And a day later, it turned itself around by his choice, not mine. But it was really coming from me, right? So often people will think that it's their idea, but you imagined it. I imagined it. And then, of course, it's reflected back. And they think they thought of it, right? But they didn't. Because everyone is us pushed out. And that everybody in your quantum bubble reality is a player in your consciousness. You're in control of them. And so they treat you how you expect them to treat you by your thoughts and your assumptions. And so recently I had some negative stuff happen with another family member out of the blue, blew me away. It's like, really? I mean, I had no clue. And at first I reacted emotionally. We're human. It's okay. It's what meaning you give to all that. And then I changed it to, you know what? Because if I keep seeing, I had to revise it. I revised that person from being the hurtful, negative energy person, an accusatory person of stuff that wasn't truth in my heart. I created all that somehow because I expected that from that person. As long as I keep expecting a person to show up a certain way, they will. So then I realized what I had done. So I changed it to them being kind, loving, and supportive, and peaceful. And that's where I stay. Have I seen the results of that yet? No. It just happened yesterday? I haven't. But in my heart, I have. And that's really all that matters. Internally, in the 4D, in my imagination, in my attitude, in my feelings, my emotions, that person I revised to a new personality that is compatible with me. And they have to show up that way, so I know they will. I'm not going to worry about it. So what do? Do I loop over and over and over the things that had been said that weren't very nice? No, I stop. Does my ego want to do that sometimes? Absolutely. Do I allow it? No. Because what did Neville Goddard say? The uncontrolled, undisciplined mind cannot live from the boldness it takes to assume whatever it is your heart's desiring is yours now. So in in all those examples that I've given you, I had to discipline my mind to stay in the state of consciousness that assumes boldly that I already have the thing my heart desires now, before the event shows up in the 3D reality. While it is still unseen in the external world, it is seen by me in the internal world through my imagination and my assumptions and my attitude. And my belief system is that I am powerful enough to change all of this into whatever I want it to be. And this applies to everything, not just the topics that we discussed today. All of this applies to everything. Whatever you want in life, you choose what it is, no matter what the external world is saying. You can have, be, and do anything you want. And it all comes down to your assuming that you have it now, being bold enough to assume that you have right now what looks impossible in the external world. I shared on a short that I was at a parade, and it was a 2-hour parade, and we were on a sidewalk cafe, and we arrived, we thought early enough, but obviously not. All the tables were taken, and we wanted to eat and have drinks and watch the parade, but there were no seats. And so I decided, you know what? And the place was crowded, and it was fun, but we were standing, holding our stuff. So I decided, you know what? My friends and I really want to sit down, and this is my consciousness. And so I started to intend internally, without telling them, because they, that this was all taking place in me, because everybody's under my control anyway. So I decided we were going to have a table and chairs. And I'm not kidding you. Within minutes, I discovered that the people near us had gotten up and left their table, which was, people were planted there for the 2 hours. That was the point of being there. But they got up and left. And so we took the table, and wasn't enough chairs. So what happened? I didn't even say, oh, wow, we need more chairs. No, I had already intended that we would have chairs for our party. Next thing I know, I sat down, and we put our drinks down, and we started to get all situated. And so a couple in front of us said, would you guys like our chairs? We're leaving. They gave us their chairs. And then I found another chair, so that we ended up with a table and 5 chairs. And all happened within minutes. This is how powerful we are. So you can apply, and we say, well, that's easy because it's not a heart-wrenching thing. Well, my back hurt. It was pretty, I had hurt my back, and so it was sensitive, and I wanted to sit down. And I wanted that for my friends, to be able to put their food on a table and eat. So all of this is possible because you are in control of your quantum bubble reality. You are in control of the people everybody and everything, and it manifested quickly. And everything in your world can manifest as quickly as you live from the state of consciousness that assumes it's yours now. There's a little lap time. Don't worry about it. Stay in the assumption. And when you're asking, well, why is it taking so long? You're not in the assumption that it's yours now. You don't get things to manifest through, I'm waiting. No, you live from the state of, I have it now. You're not waiting for anything. You have it now. That's when it will manifest. You don't drive a brand new car that you wanted to manifest down the highway waiting for it to show up, and you're like, I wonder when it's going to show up, and you're sitting there driving it. No, you have it. You're living in a state of gratitude, and that's what you need to do with this. Live in a state of gratitude that you are the mama that you want to be, that you are with that person and that you want to be with, that you are everything your heart desires. And that's something that you can do before you fall asleep. I am so grateful that I have everything my heart desires. You have everything your heart desires. And if that's too much, just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's in one of Neville Goddard's books. I didn't make that up. And so that's really all I have to say on the subject. You are capable of having, being, and doing anything your heart desires because you are that powerful. If you have questions, please schedule a coaching session and we can talk about it, or leave a comment. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Blessings.